man. Let's go get what we want. Hey, hey, hey. It's about that time.
We know what we want to do. It's another opportunity for us to get better.
Alabama has won the match.
How you compete. That means how hard you play, how tough you play, how you can sustain in tough circumstances.
Welcome to TideTV This Week, brought to you by Renaissance Bank. I'm Chris Ringland alongside Maggie Hetzel.
You know, the third Saturday in October, it always promises to be an exciting game, but between the light, Najee going for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then a win over Tennessee, I don't know if you can top that one.
I don't know if you can, Maggie. It was a great night in Bryant-Denny, and that third Saturday in October matchup between #1 Alabama and the Tennessee Volunteers was an electric atmosphere under the new lights in Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Finally, a night game in Bryant-Denny to showcase the Tide's new LED lighting system. And the cooler weather, it wasn't too bad either. It was a late kickoff, but, you know, we'll take it. As you can see, it was a great atmosphere in Bryant-Denny.
The new color changing light system is synced to the music you hear in Bryant-Denny, as well as the Tide's intro video, among others. The fans, players, athletic director Greg Byrne, and even Coach Saban had high praise for the lights. And as you can see from that video, it was a great night in Bryant-Denny with the music, the lights, and everything. It was a rocking atmosphere in Bryant-Denny on Saturday night. After that awesome introduction for the #1 ranked team in the nation, the Crimson Tide wasted no time taking control of the game. After forcing a 3-and-out on Tennessee's opening possession, Alabama got on the scoreboard. This 19-yard pass to Jerry Jeudy from Tua Tagovailoa set up this 1-yard touchdown run from Najee Harris. And then Brian Robinson Jr. ran it in from 9 yards out to give Alabama the 14-7 lead, and that would be the score at the end of the first quarter.
And then after a 37-yard field goal to begin the second quarter from Tennessee, Alabama extended their lead to double digits. Tua and Henry Ruggs connected for 48 yards to push the Crimson Tide deep into Vols territory. And then Najee Harris, he capped off that drive with his second touchdown of the game. Another 1-yard score for Harris put the Crimson Tide up 21-10. And then later in the second quarter, Tua, he rolled out to the left and was sacked, is what you just saw, and Tua was injured on the play and would not return. To open the second half, Tennessee got back on the scoreboard with another field goal. This one made it 32 and made it a 21-13 game. The Crimson Tide responded on an ensuing drive. You saw right there, Slade Bolden in at quarterback took the snap and connected with wide open Miller Forrestall in the end zone for the score. And that put the Crimson Tide back up by 2 touchdowns, 28-13.
The Crimson Tide put the game away in the fourth quarter after Tennessee went for it on 4th down from the Alabama 1-yard line. Quarterback Jarrett Garantano went for the quarterback sneak, but the combination of his guard stepping into him and Shane Lee putting a hit on his chest made Garantano fumble the ball into the end zone, and you see Trayvon Diggs quickly scooped it up, and he wouldn't be caught. 100 yards for the touchdown. The score by Diggs made it a 35-13 score, and that would be the final as Alabama defeats Tennessee for the 13th time in a row.
Huge swing in the first half when, you know, we got a 1st and 2 at the 2 and throw a pick, and we actually have a chance to go up to 14-0, and then they run it back 50 yards and go score a touchdown on that drive. So that was a big swing, and then it was a huge swing. You know, Diggs was a return for a touchdown on 4th and 1 at the 1. Great goal line stand by our players down there to even be in that situation. But I was really pleased with the way our guys grounded out, found a way to win.
Before leaving the game, Tua completed 11 of 12 passes for 155 yards while throwing just his second interception of the year. Mac Jones came in and connected on 6 of 11 for 72 yards. Najee Harris rushed for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns as he totaled 153 all-purpose yards. The 100-yard rushing game was Harris's 3rd of the season, and Henry Ruggs led the team in receiving with 4 receptions for 78 yards.
Christian Harris led the Tide with 8 tackles, including 1 for loss. Terrell Lewis and Anthony Jennings each had 5 solo tackles. Lewis added 3 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. Jared Maiden had his second interception of the season, and then Trayvon Diggs had that big play defensively with the 100-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown.
And in his first career appearance, freshman Ty Perine averaged 46.5 yards on a pair of punts. He recorded a long of 51 on his second attempt and followed that up by making the tackle. Now, Tua's injury turned out to be a high ankle sprain that he suffered in the second quarter against Tennessee. He had what is called a tightrope procedure performed on his ankle. This is the same injury, but the opposite ankle that Tua injured last season. Here's what Coach Saban had to say on Monday.
Surgery was successful.
There's no real timetable, for his return, but the expectation is he will be non-weight bearing for several days, and then he'll be able to come back as his rehab allows him. So we're hopeful that, in a 10-day period, he'll be, back being able to do pretty active type rehab, and we'll see how it goes from there. But these things are pretty unpredictable at this point.
Now, Tua will miss next week's game against Arkansas, but is expected to make a full and speedy recovery.
And in the Crimson Tide's 13th consecutive win over the Volunteers, one member of the Crimson Tide picked up his first career honor from the Southeastern Conference. Junior Alex Leatherwood was named the SEC's Offensive Lineman of the Week. Leatherwood turned in a dominant performance against the Vols. The Tide starting left tackle totaled 62 snaps, missing only one assignment. He did not allow a sack, hurry, or quarterback pressure at all.
And there was a change in the top 5 of the Associated Press poll this week, along with a big upset in the top 10 from the Big Ten. In this week's AP poll, the Crimson Tide remained number 1 with LSU at number 2, but Ohio State jumped ahead of Clemson, knocking the Tigers back down to number 4. Oklahoma remains at 5. The big upset this week was with Wisconsin. With the loss to Illinois, that knocks them down from 6 to number 13. The Florida Gators benefited from that as they move up 2 spots to number 7. Auburn is 9th, and Georgia remains at 10 this week.
And then over in the Coaches Bowl, Alabama is number 1, but the coaches have Clemson at 2, LSU is 3, and Ohio State and Oklahoma at 4 and 5. And just like the AP, there are 5 SEC teams in the rankings, and they're all in the top 10. The coaches have Florida 8th, Georgia 9th, and Auburn at 10.
Alabama will take on Arkansas this week for the Tide's homecoming game, and next week the Crimson Tide will have an off week. It will be their second bye week of the season.
I know they're going to enjoy that one. After the bye week number 1, Alabama will take on number 2, LSU. It was announced this week that the matchup will kick off at 2:30 p.m. on November 9th in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and the game will be broadcast on CBS.
Stay with us, because coming up next, we'll give you an all-access look inside the Tide's 13th win in a row over the Tennessee Volunteers.
Tide TV this week is brought to you by ATI. Built by Bama. Rebuilt by ATI Physical Therapy. Ford and the F-150. Tough runs in our family. See your local Ford dealer today. AFS, a Bayless company. Your foundation and waterproofing specialists. Serving you since 2000.
The third Saturday in October always tends to be exciting in a few ways. This particular one, there was the Trayvon Diggs scoop and score, Slade Bolden's first career passing touchdown. Najee Harris with his third game rushing for over 100 yards, and then add a few color-changing LED lights in there, and you have yourself quite a show. Let's take an all-access look back at Alabama's win over Tennessee. It's brought to you by ATI.
It is the third Saturday in October, and what that means, you get the traditional rivalry that Alabama has owned lately. But we'll see if they're on alert tonight.
What a great atmosphere. At night, the first night game here at Alabama this season, they got new lights. It's going to be like a rock concert out here.
This place is ready to explode.
Showtime! Showtime!
They have owned Tennessee, having won the last 12 matchups. From the 35, he's going to throw quick. Slant in the middle to Jerry Jeudy, then get Jeudy involved quickly.
Here's the toss, left side. He is there for a touchdown.
Here's Maurer to throw, trying to slant of his own. He's intercepted. It's picked off by Jared Maiden.
His second interception of the year. He had a pick against Ole Miss, and he takes it right across the middle and picks it away from the Tennessee Volunteers. Catch is made, first down, Ruggs.
Brian Robinson taking on contact and the pylon.
Runs over a man and goes in for the touchdown. Tua loads up, men are wide open. Henry Ruggs makes the grab at the 15 and goes down at the 11-yard line.
As Najee Harris walks into the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama.
All the way, drop. I see you giving the running back some love. I like that.
Now taken down from behind, dropped by Shane Lee. Jones tees it up and completes. Able to hit Devontae Smith.
Fakes it and throws into the end zone. Touchdown!
Slade Bolden hits Miller Forrestal in the end zone.
They got it. Let's go, baby.
Pressure up the middle. Garantano can't escape from that one. It's Terrell Lewis on the sack and a loss of 8 on the play.
And it's going to bring up 4th and goal. 4th and goal for Tennessee.
Quick snap coming up for Tennessee.
Quickly to the line of scrimmage.
Garantano tried to get there. The ball comes out. Trayvon Diggs running down the sideline.
He's going to run it all the way down. Touchdown! 99 yards. Shane Lee knocked it loose. Trayvon Diggs picked it up. Touchdown, Alabama!
Alabama able to win.
That's going to do it. The coaches make their way to midfield. They will embrace warmly as Alabama wins it 35-13 over the Tennessee Volunteers.
Tide TV this week is brought to you by ATI. Built by Bama. Rebuilt by ATI Physical Therapy. The University of Alabama, where legends are made.
Alabama and Arkansas will meet for the 30th time on Saturday. The Crimson Tide holds a 22-7 series advantage over the Razorbacks, and just like going into that matchup against Tennessee, Alabama has won 12 in a row over Arkansas. Coach Saban has never lost to Arkansas as the head coach of the Crimson Tide. In last year's meeting in Fayetteville, the Tide rolled big, 65-31. Leading the Razorbacks is second-year head coach Chad Morris. Last season, he led the Hogs to a 2-10 record in his first year. This year, the Razorbacks have already equaled last year's win total. Arkansas enters the matchup 2-5 and 0-4 in the SEC. The two wins are a 20-13 win over Portland State in Week 1 and a 55-34 victory over Colorado State in Week 3. Who will get the nod at quarterback for the Hogs against the #1 ranked Tide is yet to be determined. Senior Ben Hicks led the Razorbacks in the 20-13 season-opening win over Portland State, completing 14 of 29 for 155 yards. But after a 31-17 loss to Ole Miss in Week 2, Texas A&M graduate transfer Nick Starkel was named the starter the following week against Colorado State. All Starkel did was lead the Razorbacks to a season-high 55 points in the win. Starkel played the entire game, completing 20 of 35 for 305 yards and 3 touchdowns. But Starkel threw 5 picks the next week in a 31-24 loss to San Jose State. Last week, against 11th-ranked Auburn Tigers, Ben Hicks played every snap but couldn't generate much offense. The Razorbacks totaled just 234 yards of offense as Hicks connected on just 19 of 39 for 182 yards, a touchdown, and an interception in the 51-10 loss at home to Auburn. Hicks is dealing with a shoulder injury this week, so it could be a game-time decision on who gets the nod. Defensively, the Razorbacks haven't fared much better. Arkansas is next to last in the SEC in total defense and scoring defense, allowing 30.7 points per game. The Crimson Tide have been excellent at not turning over the ball, while the Razorbacks haven't fared so well. Alabama is still #1 in the SEC and 4th in the nation in turnover margin at +9. The Razorbacks are near the bottom of the SEC at -1. Alabama's won their last 16 homecoming games. Kickoff for this homecoming matchup against the Razorbacks is at 6 p.m. The game will be broadcast on ESPN. Stay with us. We'll have more Tide TV this week coming up next.
We're going to work our tails off every day. We're going to get this thing rolling in the right direction.
Oh, baby, what a jumper!
But we're going to get better, so we're going to give max effort, continuous growth, and then we talk about selfless love.
Kyra Lewis, a huge three. Oh, my goodness, what a play. Oh, mercy! Unbelievable.
Holy smokes. Showtime! Bama fans here at Coleman are on their feet.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week, brought to you by Renaissance Bank. The Alabama men's and women's basketball teams held their 5th annual Soup Store Tide Tip-Off on October 18th.
Over 4,000 fans packed Coleman Coliseum to watch the men's and women's teams showcase their skills. And after both teams signed autographs, the night began with introductions, followed by a 3-point competition, which ended with freshman Jalen Forbes and sophomore Brittany Davis coming away as the champions. The men's team ended the night with a dunk contest where junior Herbert Jones was crowned champion of that one.
And in his first time in front of the Alabama crowd in Coleman Coliseum, Coach Nate Oates made quite an impression with his fashion choice, a throwback to the 80s, a plaid sport coat.
I would give a little throwback to the plaid palace. So Wimp's been good to me since I've been here. So I asked him if he had a sport coat he thought it'd be good for it. So I tried to get him down here. I was going to have him kind of hand it off to me, put it on me, but he was out of town for the weekend. So he gave me the sport coat, though. It's a tad big, but I thought it got the message across. We're going to get back to winning some games like they did in the Wimp era.
If Coach Oates can get Alabama basketball back to winning the way they did in the Wimp era, there will be a lot of happy Crimson Tide fans.
Yeah, there will be. They'll be pretty pleased, and it was a fun night in Coleman Coliseum. Let's take an all-access look back at the Tide tip-off event.
They split out Mac Jones, and they throw to the end zone. The Forrestal's caught. The ball comes out. Trayvon Diggs. This will be a 100-yard scoop and score for Alabama.
The cutback shot is knocked over Orchis, and it's in. There's your equalizing goal for Alabama.
Those are our BBVA top plays of the week. Now let's take a look at our players of the week, brought to you by Payless Drugs. Terrell Lewis led the Alabama defense in the Tide's 35-13 win over Tennessee. Lewis totaled 7 tackles, including 5 solo stops. He had 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss for a total of 21 yards.
And we go with soccer's Gabby Duca, trailing 1-0 in the 83rd minute on the road against Ole Miss. Duca tied the game. With the assist from Casey Wirtz, Duca found the back of the net for her 3rd goal of the season. Duca's goal sent the match into overtime as the Tide left Oxford with a 1-1 tie.
Now let's take a look at next week's schedule for the Crimson Tide. What's next is brought to you by Renaissance Bank.
On Monday, the men's golf and tennis teams are in action. The men's tennis team will take part in the USTA 25K Futures in Naples, Florida, and men's golf will compete in the Cypress Point Classic at Pebble Beach.
On Thursday, soccer hosts Vanderbilt at 7:30 on the SEC Network. On Friday, men's tennis takes part in the CCB Collegiate Invitational in Birmingham, while the women's team will host the Roberta Allison Fall Classic, and cross country competes in the SEC Championships in Lexington.
Football has a much-earned week off. Rowing will be in Chattanooga to compete in the Head of the Hooch on Saturday, and volleyball will be at home on Sunday. The whole Tide hosts the Ole Miss Rebels at 2, and then the SEC soccer tournament begins on Sunday in Orange Beach.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Tide TV This Week.
Have a great week, everybody. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
This has been a presentation of Learfield IMG College.